hopefully everybody found their assigned seat. Got all 5 papers from up there. I'm gonna go through what you need to do with all 5 of those. Some look the same. Hopefully start to fill out the 2 that say name at top. Those are the ones that look the same. One of them I'm gonna collect. One of them you're gonna keep. The one that has nothing on, my pen would ever work. Nothing on the back. That's the one I'm going to collect. So sort of set it off to the side. We will, I know, poor Jay Lynn's thinking, well, I can't turn it into you because I didn't get to fill it all out. What did you get to fill out the book number? Now, there's a reason for that, because you haven't got your book yet. So we're going to do that here in a minute. Give you your book, fill in your book number there. Make sure you put it on both the sheets. That way, the one that you keep will have your book number on it. So when Shane up here comes and says, Mr. Eversole, I can't find my book, can you tell me my number? And we'll say, I don't have to, Shane, because you can look it up right in your planner. So you can, yeah, I guess.
Amy tell you I called.
Yeah, Mrs. Evans called me right after that, so I didn't bother you.
Okay, I'll talk to you one day.
So you can have your book number there, because Mr. Schaefer knows he'll probably be running down to lunch at some point and have his geometry book in his hand, and one of his friends will have the locker open. Hey, can I throw my book in your locker? And then it'll come up misplaced or something like that, right? And I know that never happens to you. You're way above all these other calls that do that stuff, right?
I accidentally put away the one that doesn't have the back, because I thought I accidentally grabbed 2 of the same.
Grab another. So, set that off to the side. We'll get the books here in a minute. The other papers, the scavenger hunt, can't do that yet until you have a book. There's a assignment paper. We'll talk about that here in a couple minutes. And then this paper is your first assignment. You're actually going to have 2 assignments today. So this paper right here is your first assignment. Make sure you read through it. What you're going to do is read through it, have your parents sign it, you sign it, fill it all out, bring it back to me next class. So for you guys, that'd be Friday. All I want back is the first page. I don't need the other 2 pages. The other 2 pages are for your records.
Department teachers in direction. At this time, I need all juniors to the lecture hall, please. All juniors to the lecture hall, please.
And we'll talk about these other 2 pages. All the stuff on them, different stuff about Noodle and everything that's on there. And I apologize that it's so hot in here. Alright, start to do my fan. Tried to, man, it wouldn't work this morning. Any questions so far? Try to hurry and get through this. I'm sure you've heard all this spiel in every class yesterday. This is gonna bother me. I'll call out your name and explain where to pick up your book. Please remind me, let's see, who do I have that's gonna mess up my order here? Maybe you 2. Trying to think who, because I just wrote, look on your, the little paper that's on your desk. And if it looks like I wrote over top of the tape, look like I wrote over top of the tape, and I think Kenneth. So I think you 3 right there. Kenneth, actually, I don't think you will, because so you're in alphabetical order still. The other 2 of you, I think, maybe you're not in alphabetical order, so it might mess it up just because you weren't on my list. And just sort of try to keep things in order. So, so it was Tristan and Casey, right? Cisco, Smith. So, Dalton, when I get to you, say no, Mr. Eversole. Tristan comes next. Can you remember that? If I don't, because I think he would be after Mr. Schaefer. And Casey, if I get to you, or when I get to you, who do I have? Shane. You should come between Shane and Jonathan. Does that make sense to everybody? Sorry to be so much trouble. Oh no, they didn't leave the numbers for ground four. Does anybody know anything about Noah Kenworthy? Also, when I call off your name to get your book, please tell me if you go by something other than what I'm calling you. All right, Mr. Boggs, that does not mean when I call Lucas Boggs, don't say I go by George, Mr. Pimp Daddy or anything like that, because I'm not gonna call you that, all right? And if you say something along those lines, I had a young lady a couple years ago who decided she was gonna be intelligent like that at the start of the year, so for the rest of the year, her name was Fred. And I called her Fred for the rest of the year. McKinney, you wouldn't like to be called Fred, would you? She didn't think she thought it was funny for a while, then after a while it got annoying to her, so I kept doing it. So Lucas, if you'd like to be called Fred, then. To get your books, all we're gonna do, numerical order, you look up there, Lucas, will you do me a favor and play Band of White for a minute? You gotta point at the books. Book number 34 will be your first one. Then Lucas can probably tell McKenna that she's gonna take what number? Number 35, so on, and we're gonna go down the rows. Again, give me a second. McKenna, you don't go by anything different, right? Jalen. Nobody knows anything about Miss Cam?
She was here yesterday.
Was she? Janet Cam? She was here yesterday?
Yeah.
Lucas, will you do me another favor then?
Yeah.
You're gonna love me, aren't you? Will you grab book number? Oh, there was one missing, wasn't there? Yeah, 38, and bring it to me. I'll save that back for Miss Kim so I can stay in order. Mr. Clark, just go by John.
Yeah.
Mr. Killen, go by Goofball. don't do anything stupid this year, because that I was your age then. Michael. Jesse. Once you get your book, please start to read the board, do what it says. I'll go over it here in a second. Let's see here, we messed up here now.
Tristan.
I'm gonna change that name to Dalton. Tristan. Dalton. Shane. Jonathan, or no, I'm sorry, Casey. Thank you, Casey. Oh, Jonathan, you got the hard part. Jonathan. Well, let's see if you can figure it out. I was just being sarcastic, it wasn't hard. But no, at some point, Jonathan, today, if we're doing this with one of my other classes, it'll be hard with somebody.
Probably.
Billy's other sister. Brooke, I won't ever call you that again. I don't know if your other sister told you that, or if your sister told you that that's all I ever called her. Mostly because I couldn't remember how to pronounce her name. And Kenneth. So, on the board. So you got your books. Again, make sure you write the number of your book, which is either on the end of it, or if you can't for sure read the number on the end, it might be easier to read it right inside here on the inside front cover. Write that on these two papers. One that you're going to keep, one that you're going to hand in to me. Start to do the scavenger hunt on the scavenger hunt. Some of the questions, let's see, I know there's one on here that sort of confuses everybody every year. Something like number 2, how can you tell what you're going to learn in lesson 1-1? You don't have to write a paragraph, all right? Just some little short thing telling me. It says about elephants at the top of page 2 or something like that. So none of these questions are anything where you should have to write more than 6 or 7 words maybe. Also, as you're going through and doing the scavenger hunt, the whole point of the scavenger hunt is, number 1, to get familiarized with your book. Number 2, to be able to check your book. So even after you're done doing the scavenger hunt, flip back through it. That way, if Jonathan figures out that book or page number 300 is ripped out in his book, he can tell me that now. All right? These books are fairly old, so you may be flipping through it, and especially being a math book. What's everybody like to do in a math book? Drawing, right? And especially in a geometry book, because we deal with triangles and different things a lot. So when we're dealing with a triangle, they'll write the angle measures in the angles and the lengths of the sides in there, and then they'll try to erase it. And so if you find something that's really, really bad, not just something that where somebody wrote in it, because there's going to be a lot of that, but something that's really bad that you just can't read or anything, let me know and we'll switch out books. I will collect the scavenger hunt here in a little while. Most of you know most of these, not a big deal. It don't bother you if I go back, since I forgot to record it. All right, so classroom rules: be in your seat prepared when the bell rings. Do not disturb others or their belongings. Harassing or picking on others won't be tolerated. You must come to class with your book and material every day. No throwing anything in the classroom. Michael needs a pencil and I toss it to him. Don't do that. All right, nothing. Don't hand it to him. Hand it to the person next to you. So just don't toss anything across the room. No improper language. No talking while I'm talking. It's just rude. If I'm sitting here talking to Mr. Schaefer, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up and starts talking to me and we were having a conversation, that's pretty rude. It's just, so if I'm talking, trying to teach you something, then don't be talking to somebody else. Remain in your seat unless you give permission. No eating, drinking, or chewing gum in the classroom. Some of you right now are stopping to chew. You're holding your gum peacefully in your mouth instead of chewing on it. I don't care if you chew gum in here, as long as you put it in your mouth before you come through the door. All right? So the only reason I say no chewing gums, because as soon as somebody gets out a pack of gum, what happens? Everybody's got it, and it's a disruption to the class. All right? Hey, can I have a piece of that? And it's got to be passed all around the room, and then it's just a disruption. So if you want to chew gum, that's fine. Just put it in your mouth before you come. If I see it out here, my sons appreciate that, because then they'll get a pack of gum when I get home. No cell phones, iPods. They will talk to you about the computer stuff. On the computers, you will be able to use the computers, or you could bring your own computer, but it's got to be at least 10 inches. So anything else, and I think they're going to talk to you about the cell phones also, some new policy that they're going to have on the cell phones. No, whatever they tell you, whatever Mr. Fisher tells you, doesn't affect this classroom. Cell phones, iPods, got to be put away, kept away. And my rule is going to be, if I see it, I confiscate it. So even if Sarah's walking in and it falls out of her bag on accident, that was bad luck, because I'm going to confiscate it. And it gets turned into the office. You got to go down at the end of the day, whenever, get it. Some of you might die in between first block and the end of the day without your cell phone there by your side. Is that the way you are, Mr. Schaefer? Do you have to have it attached to you?
I have a cell phone.
You don't? That's good. See, that's a good thing. Mine stays turned off all the time, and my wife gets irate with me. Well, why do you even have a cell phone? I said, I don't know. I told you not to get me one. I'm not. So keep them put away. Don't want to see them. If it's hanging out your pocket, Can I see it? Yeah, so shove it down in there. Make sure it's somewhere where you can't easily get to it or where I think you're gonna be trying to mess with it. Any other activities that are not appropriate won't be tolerated. All work must be turned in on time. We'll talk about Moodle here in a minute. If you're absent, get on Moodle. It's a good resource. You can get all the stuff you need. I'm not that great a teacher so I apologize in advance. I'll try to do my best, but I'm not some spectacular teacher. I'm not like Mr. Bryan or Mr. Swihart where I'm all gung-ho and they teach you everything and they're all right, that's not me. So I'm not the world's greatest teacher, but a lot of you probably, Sarah sitting here, I'm sure she could get on Moodle right now and go through and do the first 7, 8 assignments just by watching the videos and looking at the notes on there. All right? So there'll be a video on there of the lesson. You can get on there if you happen to miss a day. I'll tell Jesse so that he knows that you can watch it at home, Grant, when you're absent those days. You say, all right, watch Mr. Eversole's video and do his homework before you go back in there. So you can get on there, watch the video, so on and so on, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. It's sort of hard being, on the block schedule because you only see me every other day. So if you were absent today, by Friday, I'm not going to remember that you were absent. All right? So it's sort of your responsibility to make sure you come in and get all that. Tardies we talked about. Hopefully, usually orange 1. This is usually my smart class. Is that the way it is this year, since I don't know most of you?
Yes, it is.
It is?
At least
Halfway? Which half is it? Those are the smart ones?
No.
He's not being nice to you guys. See, I'm trying to be nice. So, shouldn't have to worry about these. Probably the main thing is you come in here and I'm sort of boring. My voice is monotone. Ken is sitting way in the back thinking, oh my God, I got to sit through Mr. Eversole's class again today. He puts me to sleep. It's probably true, right? I won't ever argue that point. But at some point, the maturity's got to kick in, and you got to know that you're here to do what? Learn. All right? Believe me, there's some meetings I sat through, and I won't say any names, Mr. Fisher, that I get bored. Man, I just want to go home and take a nap. But the maturity kicks in, I think you better keep your eyes open because you look like an idiot if you fall asleep in here and you're supposed to be listening. The grading. You soon figure out, I know, and especially in middle school, they don't do it this way. Tests are probably the most important thing in here. So they count 70% of your grade. All right? Homework, other things along those lines, count 30% of your grade. So when it comes time to take the test, if your grade's not where you want it to be because you missed a couple homework assignments or something, test is a real good way to pull your grade up. It'll help a whole bunch. Now, on the opposite end of that, if you do real poorly on the test, it could hurt you a lot. All right? So tests count as 70% of the grade. Homework counts 30%. Chapter tests actually count as 2 grades. So, and I guarantee McKenna will come in here with her interim report. McKenna, you won't do this. I know you won't. That's why I'm using it. She'll have her interim report. Mr. Eversole, you messed up my interim report because you put the chapter 1 test on there twice. No, it's every chapter test is supposed to be on there twice because it counts as a double grade. All right? We'll take a lot of quizzes. Hint, hint, next class. In this class, well, a little quiz that we take isn't going to count the same as a chapter test, right? That just doesn't make sense. Even though a lot of middle school teachers and stuff, that's what they do. Everything counts the same, and then you miss some little 5-question quiz that you never took because you were absent or something, and it kills your grade. Well, that doesn't make sense. It shouldn't, a quiz shouldn't count as much as a test. Notebooks, easy grade. When you turn this notebook in at the end of the 9 weeks, it'll count as a test grade, a chapter test grade.
Teacher, pardon the interruption. This time, all juniors should be back in class. Thank you.
So it would count as a test grade. So if Jonathan doesn't do well on tests, that's not you, it's probably spectacular on every test. Jonathan doesn't do well on tests, and he knows that. Is this a way to keep that test average up? Yeah. All right. Let's say you score 50s on every test. We have maybe 4 chapter tests this 9 weeks. All right. You score 50 on every one of them. You score 100 on this. What's 4 times 50? 200 plus another 100? 300. All right. So now you got 300 points. Divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you come up with? 60. So you raise your average from a 50 to a 60. Now 60 is still not passing, but along with your homework average, would that be real helpful? Yeah. All right. So easy way to keep your grade up. Writing down the notes, doing all the stuff supposed to be in this binder, and we'll talk about that more here in a minute. If you miss no assignments at the end of the 9 weeks, I don't give a whole lot of extra credit or bonus, but if you miss no assignments for a whole 9 weeks, then at the end of the 9 weeks, I add like 20 points or 30 points, depending on the 9 weeks and how much we've gotten through. I just add it onto your homework average, all right? Just to help you out. So very helpful to miss no assignments. If you miss one assignment, I give half those points. I can't put a set amount on that because each 9 weeks, one 9 weeks we might have 500 points. Well, if I only gave you 10 points, that's not going to really help anything, right? Well, the next 9 weeks we might only have 200 total homework points. You get around Christmas and stuff and you don't have as much time to work on everything. Well, if I give you 10 points there, it would help a lot, all right? So that's why there's no set number there. Any questions on that? Don't be afraid to ask. Kenneth, did you get all that? Are you lying to me? The notebooks. Just to talk about the notebooks real quickly. Things you need for this class. 3-ring binder. Make it so it's just something for this class. It doesn't have to be this big. It could be a smaller one. As a matter of fact, it used to be, I don't have any laying over there anymore because everybody quit using them. Those little paper ones, I used to pass those out to everybody at the start of the year and just use those. But these are just so much easier as far as putting new stuff in and taking old stuff out in case you're absent and everything else, where the others just a pain in the butt. Try not to make it some great big huge thing, because at the end of the 9 weeks I collect them and I have like 120 students, and if I collect 120 and they're the big 3-inch ones or 4-inch ones, that gets pretty bulky. All right, so something like this worked out perfect. This is one I'm sure somebody left in here last year that I just decided to use, and Mr. Schaefer gets a nice free one. I think it's even got little pockets on it, Mr. Schaefer, right here. You draw your little picture, stick in there, have something pretty. Put a picture of your girlfriend in there, something, whatever's going to keep you focused in my class. All right. So I got to count here because I getting ready to say something silly that I shouldn't say. Wasn't about you, it was about one of your siblings. So get this, put those 2 papers in there. Come back next time, put a whole bunch of just loose leaf paper in here behind this. And as we go through it, I'll tell you what you're going to have in your binder. You're going to have, let's see. In your binder, you're going to have 3 sections. I take that back. You're going to have, 3 sections. That's right. Notes. That's what we write down each day in class and stuff. Then you're going to have theorems and postulates. Yes.
I just was checking to make sure no Kenworthy wasn't there.
No Kenworthy?
Yeah.
Not here, right? No.
You do, I just thought maybe it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Theorems and postulates, which you probably don't understand right now, and we won't get to them for a little while. I'll explain that then. But they'll just be 3 separate sections. You can use the dividers if you want. You don't have to. I have a bunch of extra dividers up here that we'll lay out. If you wanted to get them, you could, and use those. Again, we'll talk about this, all the theorem and postulate, all they are. And there's also like corollaries and axioms, which we won't even deal with those, the corollaries and axioms so much. We'll just treat them like a postulate because they're basically the same thing. So all these are rules. One of them says, which you guys probably already know, well, what's one theorem that you for sure know? Pythagorean's theorem. What's Pythagorean's theorem say? A squared plus equals c squared. So that's one of the theorems. Well, what you're going to have is in your binder, you're going to have a section where you just write those rules down. So if you need to go back and say, okay, what's the midpoint formula? You can look back through those pages and find that. What's Pythagorean's theorem? So on, so on. That's all it's going to be in that section. Then the third section, test and quizzes. When I hand back a test or a quiz, they'll be hole punched, and you just put them in your binder. All right? The reason for that, in the semester we have a semester exam. In the year we have a year exam over the whole year. Well, again, it goes back to me being lazy. Guess where the questions on the semester exam and the year-end exam come from? Old tests and quizzes. All right, so we take the chapter 1 test at the end of the year. Problem number 1 on that chapter 1 test, you might see again on the final exam. Very likely. Again, those will be collected once. Your binders will be collected once each 9 weeks. Keep them in order. Get it just like Mr. Schaefer has set up right here. Put those 2 papers in there. Put a bunch of loose leaf paper in there. Bring it every day. Write the stuff down in here. Keep it right like that, and you will have absolutely no trouble with this binder grade. All right? The young ladies usually do extremely well on binders because we know young ladies are more with it than young men at this age, right? The young men, this is what they like to do. Shane up here, he's going to write his notes down today on a piece of paper. He's going to write his notes down on a piece of paper, and he takes that piece of paper, folds it up, shoves it in his book. I said, Shane, you're not going to remember to put that in your binder. Oh, yeah, I never forget anything like that. Then at the end of the 9 weeks, I tell Shane, hey, your binder's due next Friday. And he's digging through his book, trying to find all his notes, get them all in his binder and everything. It never works. All right? Look, Jonathan's got this little smirk on his face. He's going, yeah, I'll make it work. I hear that all the time. It never works. Get a binder, put loose leaf paper in it, write the notes down right in there. At the end of the 9 weeks, I should be able to say, hey, your binder's due today. And you go, here it is, because it's ready to go. All right? Shouldn't be difficult. It's not made to be a difficult grade. A lot of people make it a lot harder than it has to be. Questions on that? Again, this is my intelligent class, right? So I can see already, about half of you have binders out already. You guys are all with it. On Moodle. Try to get that out of the way. I'll turn this light off again. I can actually see. No. If you go to Moodle, I know your guys' looks different than mine. Yours will have your class list, right? Then they have like your classes listed out here. Notice, Lucas, notice here I got a 42% in my geometry class, so don't ever have that. That's not really here. I know I got a terrible grade in my own class. You go here, click on geometry. It'll pop up this. Right at the top here, copy of the textbook. Click on that. Let me make sure here. Let's go back. Switch my role to a student here so it looks more like what you would see. So you see this right at the very top. Copy of the textbook. Pop up, that's just the cover. I really don't care to see the cover. Let's see, Geometry Chapter 1. It'll pull it up here, lines and angles. Go through the pages. So there's a copy of it right there. Section 1.1's right there. Looks the same as probably what you looked at a few minutes ago when you were doing the scavenger hunt. So, if you use Moodle, probably never have to take your textbook home if you have good internet at your house where you can pull it up. Also down through here you'll see today's the 20th. This is your assignment for today. Notice it says the parent form that I talked about. Bring that back on Friday. And this right here is going to be your assignment. We'll see it again here in a minute. But it'll always have the date. Notice it's got 2 dates because I got orange and brown classes on opposite days. So it'll have 2 dates on there. You can find it, the notes. If you can't pull up the notes or something for whatever reason, does this look familiar? It's the exact same thing as we just did. Just shut it down. So it'll have the notes on there. Also, I don't have a video on here for this first lesson, but for the second lesson, what you're going to see on Friday, if you click on this video, oh, we didn't want you to see that. Sorry. How do I shut it? Shane, you didn't see that, did you? Is that about that quiz next class? So you get on there, it's got a video on it each day. Go down here, you notice it says notes 1-3, it's third day's notes, video of the lesson. Sometimes these videos will change, like right now I'm recording this class, so I'll put this video on there for that first lesson, and we'll change them as the year goes along. These are videos from last year. Some of them will get updated, so you might watch a video and it might be last year's video, and then Lucas watches a video and he hears me yelling at some kid named Cameron. Cameron, quit messing around. And he'll probably know who that was, right, Lucas? So he could laugh and say, hey, I heard Mr. Eversole yelling at you from last year. You can watch the videos, get the notes off here if you happen to be absent. If you watch the video, then it'll have the notes explained out. So instead of just looking at the notes where there's nothing explained on them, it'll all be written out and you can do that. Real helpful. This says week 2, week 3. If you go back through here, I'll go back real quick. Right up here, it only shows week 1 and week 2 right now. It could show more, but that's all I got opened up right now. Stuff over here for your parents to help them figure out Moodle. Some videos that I made up for them, videos, stuff about the class rules, standards in geometry, explaining the website. Hopefully, if you have questions on any of the stuff, you can come in and I'll try to help you. If you can't figure out something, if the videos aren't working for whatever reason, I'll try to help you. Notice that I had to ask somebody for help earlier with my computer. So if you come in with your own computer and you say, hey, the videos aren't working, what I'll do is what I normally do and try it and say, if it doesn't work still, then you just have to figure it out. Hopefully it will, especially with the school's computers. Anything else on here? The website that we talked about earlier with the geometry book and username and passwords right here at the top, so that could be helpful if you wanted to use that. Using Moodle. First set of notes, normally I will, I'm going to keep this small like this. I know this isn't the way to do a PowerPoint show, but my little recording box keeps disappearing, so